Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2021 My Team career mode. This is episode number 118 today for the Brazilian Grand Prix in Season 7. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Mexican Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. That was as usual, a very chaotic one around Mexico. I don't know what it is, especially on this game. Mexico is always carnage, and there was drama for pretty much every single title contender. Gasly and Verstappen early doors getting caught off guard and pushed down the order. It was looking pretty damn good then for Leclerc, Giovinazzi and myself, and then all three of us came to wars. Even George Russell, who was at the sharp end as well. All of us had to come in for earlier stops with front wing changes, damage to the car, and then all of us had to try and make our way up the order. I tried a bit of a different strategy. I went longer on the hard compound tyre, whereas Giovinazzi and Leclerc went for a more aggressive strategy, although they could do that because I had to do a whole lap without a front wing. So in the end of it then, going into the last 3 rounds, Verstappen still leads this championship by 1 point to Antonio Giovinazzi, then a further point to Pierre Gasly, and then a further point to myself. Leclerc, a bit of an outlier there in the Porsche car, but he has been actually getting better and more consistent as of late. You know, 2 top 4 finishes, a podium beforehand as well at the Belgium Grand Prix, and he has always been a great qualifier. And with 3 races to go, there's still time. With how things close are, things can very much change within a race. But we come to Sao Paulo then, and there is some usual rain in the air around Brazil. I believe we may get a wet start, which is going to make this race even spicier, and that's going to be even more crucial then to get as far up the order as we can on the starting grid, because, you know, as I've said before, you know, the wet conditions aren't my strongest suit. So if we are to maybe struggle a bit in the wet before it gets to dry in the race tomorrow, I'd rather be as high up as we can on the starting grid. So we have to try and aim for the top rows, I think, in Q3. But first and foremost, obviously, you have to get through into the remaining sessions. Q2 is going to be a formality for us, and we start off strong there with P1, Giovinazzi close behind, Gasly down in P7, but no doubt he'll speed up as we go through these sessions, and it's a rarity for us to start off Q1 very quick, but that's also very promising. Maybe that means we are going to have the pace today to challenge for the top spot like we did in Mexico in the rain. To be fair, like, you know, I just said we weren't that great around the rain. To be fair, we got pole in the wet in Mexico, but this is a very different circuit. The AI are so good in the traction zone, especially in the first 2 turns off the center S, and there you go. Gasly does find a bit more pace. We're down in P6 then, but we are through into the top 10 shootout along with our teammate Gasly. Leclerc showing promise, but Russell and Ocon, both Ferraris, looking very, very quick, it would seem. Giovinazzi in P7, and Hamilton gets the better of Verstappen. So Verstappen, has he been hit with a bit of, you know, lower focus maybe after having a quieter and bit of a shocking race at Mexico? I mean, the same can't be said for Gasly, who was in the same boat really. So I'll be surprised. Maybe just Q3, you know, Q2, Hamilton just got a better lap time in, bit of traffic potentially for the Dutchman. I don't know, but now this is where it counts. This is the top 10 shootout, and this is where it matters. And I'm sure a driver like Verstappen will pull up and do the business, as we're going to try and do so as well, to try and catapult ourselves as high as we can on this grid. P2, so close to Russell, but Leclerc comes in with provisional pole. Hamilton, P4. Where are the others going to be? Well, we're down to P8. I thought that was a good lap time because Russell was fastest in Q2, so the fact we were so close to him, I thought we were going to be aiming for the front 2 rows, but we're down in P8. We've got a red first sector, green the second, 1.5 tenths gained, and that will be enough to get us up onto the second row once more, as things were so close. So 1.5 tenths is the difference between P3 there and P8, and we join our teammate, how poetic, on the second row. Leclerc on pole position then, Giovinazzi second, Verstappen does pull out the bag, P5, whereas Hamilton struggles down in P10 with a horrendous time. So I don't know what went on for him, but it's the top 5 in the championship, not in the same order, but here on the top 5 of the grid. This is going to go right down to the wire, isn't it, this season? Let's go to the race.
Welcome along then to the place where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the final corner. And it's the place, a year later, that Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's Interlagos, and it's time for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Interlagos, always a very special race here in Brazil. It's a 2.7-mile circuit with 9 lefts and 6 rights for a total of 15 corners. But it's a wet one today, so grip and visibility will be at a premium, and the drivers will need to be careful coming up the hill in Sector 3, the scene of many an accident over the years. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of Turn 1, so how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are 3 main things to worry about there, Crofty: positioning, awareness and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, edging out Antonio Giovinazzi, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have the owner driver, Gasly, Max Verstappen and Stroll, Ocon, Drugovich, Hamilton and Lando Norris, Bottas, Tictum, Carlos Sainz and Lundgaard, Tsunoda, Mick Schumacher, George Russell and Marcus Armstrong, Aitken, Eilert, Matsushita and Guan Yu Zhou. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So you do indeed join us on a wet Sao Paulo circuit. It is intermediate weather, but it will be getting towards dry tyres then pretty soon. So we'll have like one small stint on intermediates, then on to dries, and then there's potential maybe for some rain at the very end of the race. Maybe we'll have to see. But, you know, here at the start of the race, it'll be tricky. Heavy fuel, Inters, Sao Paulo, a circuit where the AI historically have been very good on traction, like I said in qualifying. So I don't know, it's going to be kind of damage limitation in the first stint, trying not to lose positions, hold the P3 if we can, because I'm confident we can do more once we get towards the dry tyre. But yeah, as you can see, there might be some rain at the end, and that could just be that could undo all the good work we do. But we can't think too negatively. Let's just go into it trying to do the best job we can. Tyre wear, I really don't know what it's going to be like now because of this intermediate stint. I guess it depends on how long this rain goes for, but looking at the weather forecast, I would suggest at least a small stint of, I don't know, 10 laps maybe, and then we'll get onto the dry tyres. But it's never really that accurate, of course, in career mode. But with 3 rounds to go, everything is to play for. Here we go to a wet Brazilian Grand Prix start. 5 red lights, and we are underway, and it's a good stop for Giovinazzi. It's a slow one for the pole sitter. Once again, Leclerc may lose a race lead into turn 1. Yes, he has. Gasly's down our inside. We're being pinched in a bit. We're going to try our best to go around the outside on the exit of this center rest, but Gasly has the better run, and we're pushed down to P4, but we've got a good run on him. We're using plenty of ERS. Can we make a move on the outside? We've gone for the dive, but we've locked up. Double lock up there, and that nearly sends us straight on, and I'm actually lucky to keep it on the circuit as Drugovich uses that to get down the inside up into P4. So in trying to go for P3, I actually lost P4, and now we're stuck behind the Mercedes man. Felipe Drugovich, though, what a start for him. I'm pretty sure he was down in, wasn't it, like P9 or P8, and he's up to P4 then. What an electric start for the one of the home favourites here, the young Brazilian in the Mercedes. So Gasly up into P3, Leclerc loses first place again off pole position. You know, the amount of times that Leclerc has actually qualified so high and lost it on the first lap has been mad. He actually would be in a dominating position, I feel, in this season if he converted more of these pole positions into race wins or just race leads, maybe, to give him a better chance of points, because you never know what can happen through a Grand Prix. Always better to be higher up than lower down in that kind of situation. So Giovinazzi now is in the driving seat. No matter what is going to happen in this race, he will have more open, available kind of pit stop window to assess the situation. Less spray as well, so it just helps so much. As you can see, I'm weaving about on the rear end there as I'm trying to get on the throttle as early as I can to charge towards Drogovic, but the conditions are very tricky, and it takes us to lap 5 now to have the confidence to send one down the inside there, wheel-to-wheel stuff with Drogovic, not wanting to make any contact and have the crowd go against us, but we overtake the Brazilian, but the fight's not done yet. The Brazilian may come back at us here. On the outside, we go defensive, even though we're using ERS all the way down this straight. The Mercedes has some pretty damn decent straight line, it would seem. I don't know what setup Drogovic is running, but pretty damn slippery in a straight line, but we are going to hold that P4 and then look to try and make a little bit of end road on Gasly, Leclerc, and Giovinazzi. And look at that up the road on the minimap. They're bunching up, so things are getting tricky for the race leader, but the DRS is now activated, and that generally means it's time to cross over to the dry tyres, and our teammates in, Leclerc's in, Giovinazzi's in, but I have to stay out because there's no point double stacking with Gasly because that will lose me time. Potentially, we could try and just try and alleviate that time loss here on this extra in lap. Of course, we have gone slower in the last 2 sectors, but sector 1 was okay, so I think I did okay-ish on these inters, but let's see what this is going to look like now. Onto a set of soft tyres, as everyone has also chosen that tyre, but Gasly's through. Gasly's into P1, hang on. Gasly's P1, Leclerc's P2. We're in P3 right now. Drogovic is there. We have lost some time, though, as others, the AI, they've gone quicker on the dry tyres, and in the end of it, I'm actually thinking, hang on, maybe the double stack could have been somewhat okay, because we've lost a decent amount of time, but I don't know how Gasly has ended up in the lead of this race. We try and get down the inside of Valtteri Bottas there in the Red Bull. Early doors, can we make the overtake up the hill? Easy does it. We're going to spot the line on the inside, go for the dive bomb, and get to the apex first, and we're into P7, but we find ourselves now behind one of our other rivals, the championship leader, going to this one, Max Verstappen, but this is a replay then of lap 7. So this was when Gio, Leclerc and Gasly came in. I'm wondering, how did Gasly end up in P1? Because Gio was leading, Leclerc was P2, so it's a good pit stop for Giovinazzi, and he's going to exit in P1, so that's all fine. So there must have been some overtaking then on this outlap then. Leclerc still P2 there, Gasly right up his nose, but maybe they hit some traffic potentially, as there were a car, yeah, there is a car there of the Williams, so I wonder if they're going to catch the Williams car, and the Williams may back Giovinazzi up into Leclerc. But I actually don't know what happened to Giovinazzi, because he's not ahead of us, I don't think, on the track right now. So Giovinazzi now on the soft compound tire, the Williams going a bit slower on the inters, and he's going to hold up. This is, I think, Guan Yu Zhou holding up Giovinazzi, backing him into Leclerc and Gasly. So those three now, the 3 effective race leaders, what they were when they came in, are now literally nose to tail nearly, and they're being held up by a very slow Williams car. Will Giovinazzi go for a move? Yes, he will. Oh, but a contact made, maybe. I think that may have been it. Maybe there was contact there, and with simulation damage, potentially that's where Giovinazzi's gone. He's gone for another pit stop, but Guan Yu Zhou, look at this. He's holding up Leclerc so much, and so this must be where Gasly surely gets Leclerc, as Leclerc goes to the left. Gasly round the outside. There goes Gasly for the double overtake. What a move by Pierre, and Giovinazzi's in, so he did get damage overtaking that Williams car. So it's another twist and a bit of drama in the last stages of this championship season. As we came out, Giovinazzi was there changing his front wing, puts on another set of fresh soft tyres, but it's a front wing change. So Giovinazzi, that is big. He was second place in the championship only by 1 point, and now he's been forced into an extra pit stop, or an earlier pit stop, way earlier than he wanted to, and this is now the ride on board of the front wing, and just there, that little bit of contact, and you can see the front wing end plate, there's a little bit of damage on the right. That is enough for him to change his front wing. So there you go, Giovinazzi way down outside the top 20. He's not even on the ladder on the left-hand side there. Meanwhile, we've got some fighting going on, some really good fighting between Ocon and Drogovic. As we go back to the live action on lap 11, Drogovic round the outside. We're going to take some inspiration from that and go around the outside ourselves of Verstappen, nearly making contact, as Verstappen is very harsh on the defensive move on the inside there. This is turning into a real great scrap. Side by side in the middle sector, but we will finish the move, unlike Drogovic, who is still behind Ocon then in P4. Now we've got Stroll, Drogovic, and Ocon to get before we get back to effectively where we should have been before the first round of pit stops. That extra lap we had to do on Inters. Now thinking about it, maybe we should have come in for the double slap, but we're now trying to make amends. So we make a big lunge on Lance Stroll, and you can see, you can kind of tell how determined I am to slice through these guys as quickly as possible as we get a potential strategy change. My team may be opting for the medium compounder tyres. We go down the inside of Drogovic to re-overtake him again in this race, back up into P4, but now looking to get a P3 that's on offer with Ocon there, effectively where Giovinazzi should have been if he hadn't have got that damage on the front wing, or really, to be honest, he should have been in P1. As we now watch Verstappen making his way through Lance Stroll, I think he has a mechanical issue maybe slowing him down as he's overtaken by 2 cars even, as Valtteri Bottas tries to get him, but Verstappen making moves up into P6, trying to limit the damage really in terms of his championship lead, of course, as we now make the move on Ocon there. No time wasted, DRS aided with some ERS as well into P3, but these two ahead of us, they're in a world of their own, and it's got to be worried a bit. This is kind of giving me the same vibes as when Gasly and Verstappen were in a world of their own at Singapore, remember. Gasly and Leclerc separated by 0.4 of a second, but both of them are 5 seconds up the road, so they are really much, they're pretty much pushing each other to go quicker and quicker. They may be pushing each other to wear their tyres out more, so we are going to do a tactical earlier pit stop onto those medium tyres, and the strategy calls for them to go to the end of the race. So it's an earlier pit stop, but we're onto a more durable tyre that should go longer, so it may seem like we've come in a bit earlier versus those guys, but I'm sure Gasly will be in no time with Leclerc as well, because they came in a lap earlier than me onto those softs, and but I'm just trying to get an undercut effectively to try and bridge this gap, because 5 seconds, that's a lot, but we could potentially gain, you never know, about a second or so on the undercut if those guys are fighting each other. You know, if Leclerc gets DRS on Gasly, they go side by side, that's another second gain. So let's see how this undercut works out for us as we now close up to Giovinazzi on this outlap then. So this is very strange. Giovinazzi out of sync of us, so he's on softs, but he's on quite worn softs now because he's been on those since that, you know, secondary pit stop effectively with the front wing change there, so we should be able to make a move quite easily on these fresher medium tyres, and there we go, he locks up into turn 1 and invites us, so we make a very easy move on one of our rivals, so it's not looking great for Giovinazzi. That is a bad vibe to have so far down the order, out of sync. That's going to be a heavy, heavy blow to his championship chances here. And with the things so close, you know, 1 point separating so many of us, you can't afford a race like that. But we go round the outside now of Guan Yu Zhou. We tried to. We get narrowly put onto the grass there by going a bit wide ourselves. But then we come back at him down the inside. But Guan Yu Zhou definitely being a bit of a nuisance in today's race in terms of, you know, slowing down cars that are maybe quicker than him. But Giovinazzi gets through as well. There you go. Gasly's in. Gasly is in. So only 2 laps later, Gasly's in. So that's 2 laps of undercut. Let's hope we've made a dent on that 5 seconds to Gasly, as we go down the inside of Jack Aitken, push him wide, and we're into P18, and now we can chase after Callum Ilott. But here's Gasly then up the road, making that pit stop. Where is he going to feed out on? He's come on to, is that another set of soft tyres for Gasly? So Gasly may be making 1 extra stop on top of this then, because surely softs can't go the distance. Like, if I'm taking mediums to the end, you would think softs can't do that, but we've seen stranger things happen before with AI being very good on tyre wear in these later seasons, but Gasly is out then, one car ahead of Ilott then in P14, and there is, well, what's the gap there? It's still about 5 seconds, you know, if I look at that, you know, because Ilott is about 4.3 to Gasly, then 5/10 back to me, so we haven't really gained that much, and Leclerc goes on for another lap. Lap 18, 19 he's gone on to, so he's stretching those soft tyres so much. What is going on there with Leclerc? That is some insane tyre management from the man from Monaco as we make an easy overtake on Ilott to get up into P13, but up the road, Gasly is making moves and trying to carve his way through Tsunoda. You've got a pack of Sainz and Stroll there as well, so maybe potentially Lance Stroll in the other Porsche could do Leclerc a favour, hold up Gasly, as he's doing pretty much now, because Stroll's holding up the Red Bull car, which switches and turn, holding up Gasly. So this is helping Leclerc. Leclerc stayed out. He's got okay pace, it would seem, and now myself and Gasly are being held up. But now we are there. We're only 1 second behind Pierre because of that traffic. So this may be helping Leclerc, but it's also helping me get myself back into the fight with our teammate, who is only 1 point ahead of us in the championship. So this would be important to overtake him if we can in this traffic. But Gasly's doing well to try and carve his way through. You've got a side-by-side moment there with the Red Bull and the Porsche, but here comes Gasly now going through on the middle of the two cars. I think just about there. It's a bit of a poor camera angle to tell what's happening exactly, but Gasly's made the move on Stroll. We make the move on Tsunoda. Really nice little slot in on the inside there, up into P12, and now we've just got Stroll to overtake, but Gasly just keeps getting cars in between us. I was going to say just Stroll to overtake, and then we've got Gasly up the road, but he just keeps putting cars in between as we go for the move on the inside of the Canadian into P11, but there's just so many mobile hurdles, some mobile chicanes to get round, and Gasly's doing a good job, you know. He knows what he's doing. He knows if he gets cars between us, it's going to be harder and harder for me to chase after him as Leclerc continues to go on. And is he going for another lap? Surely not. Yes, he is. What is Leclerc doing? Lap 21, and he's still going. He pits onto those soft tyres when? Lap 8, I think, or lap 7 maybe, because I think 8's when we came in. So lap 7, so he's been going on to those tyres. He's gone on for those tyres for 14 laps then, and that's just so long for this set of soft tyres, considering we're doing, you know, about 14 and a bit on medium tyres to get to the end of the race. So Leclerc showing some insane tyre management. I wonder what the pace is like, though. Where is he going to come out when he makes that pit stop? He'll be rapid, I guess, on another set of soft tyres, but Gasly's doing the same strategy, but he's coming earlier, so he actually might be doing an extra stop then, like I said, for Gasly. So this is all very weird and playing out not quite clearly. I'm not sure what Leclerc's strategy is. Gasly, I feel, is definitely going in for another stop. We're going to the end. That's been the plan from the get-go, because even our engineer said that was the suggested strategy, so we're going to stick to that. But as we close up to Gasly, we continue just to try and get behind him, and finally, with a bit of a desperate dive on Schumacher, now, for the first time in a while, we've actually not got a car between myself and him, and we've got a clean run with the DRS. So this is the best opportunity we're going to get right now to overtake Gasly and try and control our race from there. I don't know where on earth Leclerc is coming out in all of this. Surely his tyre pace has been woeful on those tyres now. Lap 23, and the man is still not in. He's definitely going to be quite quick then on this last stint, but will it be enough? But, you know, we're going to have to see then where he comes out. Maybe Porsche have done the math. Maybe Leclerc really is that good right now around Sao Paulo as we go for a move on Pierre Gasly side by side for P1 this is, as Leclerc is finally in. We're now side by side on the outside of the center rest. It's so fine between myself and Pierre Gasly. The tension is high. Two teammates. We've already come together earlier on in the season, but we are going to make the overtake for P1 in this race. But look at Leclerc. He has come out 3 seconds behind Gasly. Only 3 seconds. And he's taken those soft tyres so long, and he's on a fresher set of softs now. So Leclerc is in prime position to carve his way through on myself and Gasly. There he goes. Oh, bit of contact. Bit of contact from Gasly's side. He locked up, the Frenchman did, but he's come back. But I wonder, was there any damage for Gasly? Was there any damage for Leclerc? It won't matter, though, for the man in the Porsche, because he's up into P2, and he's now going to have a very quick run on us, and it's going to happen immediately onto lap 26, 10 laps to go, and Leclerc is through on the left. I've got no ERS, I've used too much of it, so we didn't even have any deploying across the line, so he breezes past us, and you can see my tyres, I'm pushing them a bit too hard to try and keep up with him in the brake zone, but they simply won't let me slow down that quickly versus the Porsche, and now we're under pressure from Pierre Gasly. DRS open though, as we're trying to save ERS for the end of the lap. Gasly is through up into P2, but I'm sure he is coming in, so I didn't fight that too much, because if Gasly is pitting again, there is no point fighting him, because we're not gonna catch Leclerc, because, you know, let's be real, he's on much fresher soft tyres, and Gasly, if he's coming in, then that's just a fight we don't need to have. And there he goes in on lap 27, so I don't think he had damage though off Leclerc, because he didn't come in immediately, so I think that's literally just his pre-planned pit stop. And I think Verstappen may be doing the same at some point as well, because he did come in at the same time as Gasly. Is meanwhile now back to our fight. We're fighting Esteban Ocon now in the Ferrari with the purple lap time, you know, and the Ferrari trying to come through and steal the P2. We're trying to defend. We go, whoa, so close to his right rear tyre there, as he's desperate to try and get by, but we need to try and hold position. If we get this P2, this could be insane for the championship for us, because Verstappen is going to make a pit stop eventually. And there you go, Drogovic now is in P4, Norris P5, but our tyres are really feeling it now. Look at the bottom right, orange icon there. Ocon on the outside again. We push him wide, but there comes Felipe Drogovic down the inside. Oh, he's gone for the dive. The home favourite, the home hero, has made an insane dive bomb, and he's made a double overtake whilst doing it up the hill, and he's up into P2. We're down to P3, and the Mercedes just has too much pace on those fresher soft tyres. I think Drogovic, Ocon, they've all done what Leclerc did. They went longer, but Gasly and Verstappen, they've gone for that extra pit stop. So Gasly here is fighting for a measly P8 now, as he's overtaken Sainz. You've got Verstappen, who's just overtaken Giovinazzi in P11, and then in all of this, Giovinazzi, funny enough, actually has closed up to Verstappen and Gasly, because even though he made that earlier pit stop, he used the tyres to good advantage, and Giovinazzi's actually bridged the gap back up to Verstappen and Gasly. But those three collectively are much lower than they'd be hoping for in a crucial race like this. P8, P11 and P12, not great versus mine and Leclerc's P1 and P3, but for how much longer will it be P3, because the Ferrari is looking so much quicker, and my tyres are just so dead. The Ferrari comes through into P8, we're down to P4, so it's not quite the P2 I was hoping for, but even P4 here, if we've got Gasly down in P8, Verstappen the championship leader, and Giovinazzi the man in second place, they're not even scoring points at the moment in this race. P4 is a dream for us. It would still be an unbelievable amount of points, but the only concern here is how worn these tyres are. Norris is 4.8 seconds back though, so within 2 laps, surely there's no way he's catching us. But the only worry is a puncher. The icon is red on the bottom right, and as we go through into sector 2, it's a slow puncher, and the left front's got 100%. In the last lap and a half of this Grand Prix, we may have an absolute disaster, calamity, as we can hardly slow down the car with a front puncher, and we're just narrowly keeping out of the wall on the left-hand side there. But Norris is through, Tickton, Russell, we're down to P7, and now our race is unraveling in front of our eyes. We've got damage now on the floor due to that, and Gasly comes through on those soft tyres, and if we'd come in with Gasly, we may have at least got P7 there with him. It wouldn't have been any higher, but I went for the gamble. I wanted the P2. I thought we could get a podium here. That would have blown the championship wide open and put it into our hands completely going into the last 2 rounds. But instead, I've joined Giovinazzi in a no-point scoring finish. Verstappen will only get 1 measly point, and Gasly is up into P7. But Leclerc, I don't know how he's done it on those soft tyres. I couldn't take the mediums longer than he could take softs. That is just insane tyre management from Leclerc, an insane pace from the Porsche car, and he wins his 2nd race of this season, and he does it in a race where all his rivals have scored such little points. Gasly is the highest man in P7 there. Verstappen 2 points in P9, Giovinazzi 0, me 0. This has just turned the entire championship on its head.
The superb Brazilian Grand Prix comes to an end, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everyone at the team.
Well, Leclerc with an insane P1, Drogovic with a home favourite P2, and Ocon P3. What could have been? I'm in disbelief. I really did not think we were going to get a puncher. Yes, I thought the tyres were going to wear out a bit, but you know, Leclerc went even longer on soft, so it just begs the question how insane his tyre management was and how his pace was, really. More so than anything, his pace on that worn set of soft tyres was just insane. And now, look at this. He's 15 points ahead of anyone in the championship. Leclerc has gone from being P5 and kind of, you know, not really been any of the strongest contenders for this championship lead at any point. You know, it's mostly been Giovinazzi and Gasly, and then Verstappen in the second half of this season, along with myself at points. Leclerc, he's kind of come out of nowhere as a dark horse to take a commanding lead in the championship with only 2 rounds to go. This just got very interesting. The entire championship has been flipped on its head, and we've got 2 rounds to decide it. Guys, if you have enjoyed this one, hit the like button. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.